With today's executive action, I am taking historic steps to lift the restrictions on American energy, to reverse government intrusion, and to cancel job-killing regulations.
U.S. President Donald Trump ran on a platform, as he often said, to make America great again. After a little more than 2 months in office, his job approval rating is at an all-time low, with few legislative achievements to point to. Can President Trump turn things around in Congress with tax reform or new executive actions on energy? We'll see. I'm Nathan King in for Anna Naidu, and you are watching The Heat. Hello again. New legislation is a crucial part of any US president's first 100 days. It's not been an easy task for Donald Trump. A divided Republican Party is trying to recover from a failed health care bill. Democrats have delayed a vote on Trump's Supreme Court Justice nominee. And leaders are vowing to block a $12 billion request to fund a Mexican border wall. The administration is now turning its attention to the energy sector and providing middle-class tax reform. Trump's popularity is taking a hit. And the question is, can any legislation be passed to salvage the president's image during his first 100 days? Here to discuss with us Donald Trump's road ahead from North Carolina is award-winning journalist and contributor to NBC and BLK, Mary C. Curtis. In the studio, Lester Munson, Vice President of the BGR Group, and Tara Kangarlou joins us from New York. Tara is a journalist and visiting scholar at the EastWest Institute. Also with us in the studio is Atiba Madyun, political strategist and president of Party Politics US. A great panel. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's start with you, Lester. You're broadly supportive of the Republican agenda. You have had your differences with Trump. We know about that, especially on foreign policy. What do you think of the first 100 days so far? What is it, 68, 69, something like that?
Yeah, it's been about 2 months and maybe a week.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go counterintuitive here and say that Trump has done a terrific job of dominating the conversation and the debate and the agenda here in Washington. He's had a rocky road, but it's been his road. People are talking about his issues. Today, we're going to talk about the executive orders that he's issued, where he talks about restoring American jobs. That's what he wants everyone to be talking about, Donald Trump and American jobs, so that when this economy, when the recovery accelerates, he's going to claim credit and he's going to look like a terrific president. I think this has actually played pretty well for him.
So this is all part of the plan, Mary C. Curtis. It seems slightly unplanned for us sitting very near the White House. But is that right, that he's doing everything that he said he would do, playing to his base and waiting for the rest of the U.S. come along with a big economic recovery?
Well, if this is part of his plan, it's a pretty devious one, and I'm not sure he's figured it out yet. Right now, he's finding out that it's much more difficult to be president than to campaign. And he thinks that he can go in and he can basically say, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to run it like a business. And Washington is just not like that. So he's had some defeats. I will agree that he is dominating the conversation. And Democrats have to understand that they need a message. Being the party of no will not be enough, although they're getting a lot of fodder from Donald Trump. He's also realizing that though he's the leader of the Republican Party, that there are many factions in the party. And if he is going to get anything done, he's going to have to figure out how to bring them together and also perhaps reach out to Democrats. And right now, there's no taste among Democrats for compromise because they have seen him have this defeat on the health care bill and all the Russia investigations. They're waiting for that to play out. So he's going to have to bring some folks together. And we'll see how it plays out. But right now, I don't think it has been a very good start for him. And he's also bringing a lot of his family members in, Jared Kushner and his daughter, Ivanka, and others. And that's raising a lot of questions because those seem to be the only folks that he really, really trusts.
Atiba, let's pick up on that. You know, Donald Trump running on appealing Obamacare. They couldn't get it through even with their own party, the Republicans, in the House on Friday. There's going to be a travel ban. Well, it was 7 Muslim countries, then it was 6, and then that was blocked by the court as well. Approval ratings of 37%, the lowest for any president probably in 70-odd years. Can he recover from this? Is this all part of the plan?
Can you recover from a train wreck? I think that's, that's the question. Because what we see right now is what he has done and what helped him gain popularity with a reality television show. And he told us this on the campaign trail. When we saw his campaign folks arguing, he said he liked that. That's what we see that's going on. And every time I see Sean Spicer's name come up on my phone, that he's in a live press conference, I'm looking. I'm like, what is he going to talk about? What's going to happen? What's the train wreck that's going to happen? Right now, we are watching a train wreck. But Donald Trump has said that he's a chief negotiator. We did not see that happen last week. We didn't see him get the votes that he needed. No, yeah. He didn't do the art of the deal. He didn't go across the aisle and try to work with Democrats. The question, if he's going to repair this, is going to be what is he going to do to cross the aisle, to work with others, and learn that as the president, as we saw Barack Obama do, is going to have to figure out how to make relationships and get things done using and working with different coalitions.
Tara, let's bring you in from New York. You're at the EastWest Institute. You've got experience, especially in the Middle East. Sometimes presidents, when they have trouble domestically, reach out for foreign successes. We've seen it in the past, but it seems in this first 100 days that's been mixed too. Apparently he presented Angela Merkel a bill for about $375 billion during their meeting. He managed to annoy allies like Australia. So in terms of international sense, where do you think this first 100 days is going?
You know, when you manage to annoy Australia, of all places, it's not a good start. Of course, one of President Trump's biggest steps was the executive order on the travel ban, which was very bombastic and was not well received internationally, neither by the countries that were banned nor by the United States allies. And that is very telling of the administration's path forward when it comes to foreign policy. It's very interesting. I want to raise the recent attacks in Mosul, the airstrikes that have left hundreds of people, civilians, dead. And really, the administration has not come forward taking a stance on that and commenting on that, which could have been a successful operation, but it was the president's first big step in the fight against ISIL, but it's taking sort of a rocky start, and a lot of eyebrows have been raised with the number of civilians who've been dead in the last couple of days. But of course, the president, has only had, less than 100 days in office. The road is still long, but the first steps have certainly been very interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you read the Mosul thing, because that came very much at the same time they're trying to reorganize their strategy against ISIL. We had the big conference here of 68 nations all looking for a way forward. And of course, civilian casualties can lose hearts and minds. Going back, if we can, Lester, to the divisions on Capitol Hill, the US Congress, legislature, and the White House. This is not how it was meant to be, is it? That we have a president, a majority in the House, a majority in the Senate, potentially a majority in the Supreme Court, the majority of states, and yet we're seeing all this infighting. Was this to be expected?
I think it's terrific politics, and it's terrifically interesting to watch.
Well, terrific to watch, but
it's terrific to watch. The American governmental system, the Constitution, as described by our founders in the Federalist Papers, was not meant to be a lickety-split way to change the way the country worked. It was meant to slow things down, to have a considered view, to hash things out, to argue, to have things fail. It's working great. The politics, just because one party controls a certain branch does not necessarily mean that party is going to be unanimous on everything. There are huge divisions in the Republican Party. When the Democratic Party was the majority for 2 generations in the House, there were huge divisions there too. There were real differences between liberal Democrats and conservative Democrats. You're seeing that with the Republicans now because they're the majority party.
Governing's harder than
governing's hard.
Saying no all
and
the time.
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see how President Trump reacts to the failure of health care. Will he reach out to the Freedom Caucus and try to govern from the far right in, or will he try to reach out to some Democrats and move to the middle? My guess is he's going to try to move to the middle. He certainly signaled that the day, after the health care failed, and he was kind of licking his wounds and looking very chastened. And I think he was learning lessons very quickly. And I think his next attempts at legislation will be very different.
I'm glad you. Sorry, go on.
Can I add something? It's interesting. We keep talking about what's going on in Congress. We keep missing out on what's going on with the people and what the people are saying, because that Obamacare didn't pass on Friday, not just because the Freedom Caucus didn't vote for it. It didn't pass because there were people that were calling their congressional members and going to town hall meetings and making it clear that they were opposed to the way that to the bill that the Republicans wanted to offer.
It was 17% approval rating I saw, which is pretty low for a healthcare bill.
It was, but the other side of it too, though, is that 62 million people voted for President Obama. To our audience, it's very important we understand that there's an electoral college that came in and played a big part in this election. But 62 million people voted for Obama.
Hillary Clinton, yes.
No, for Donald Trump. 65 million voted for Hillary Clinton. 71 million didn't vote. And we're hearing a lot of those voices that are out there, and congressional members are hearing them when they're going back to their states.
And so are Democrats. So that's why I wanted to ask Mary C. Curtis. You're in Charlotte. I remember the convention there for Obama's second term, and he was talking very much about one United States, and we've got to listen to everyone. Doesn't always work out like that. Should Democrat, in this first 100 days, the president wants to get something moved. Should Democrats work with Donald Trump as well, considering, coming together? That's what both parties talked about. Or are they looking at his horrible polling numbers and thinking we just have to wait this one out?
Well, they're looking to wait it out, but of course, a lot of that is up to Trump. Is he going to bring up issues like infrastructure, where maybe there can be some common ground? Part of it is there is a real philosophical difference on things like health care. Now, many people apparently, as the other guest said that showed up, feel that it is a right and people are used to it. The Medicaid expansion, even in states that Trump won. And yet there's a philosophy, folks like the folks in the Freedom Caucus, that are all for repeal, but not replace, because they don't feel that that is what healthcare is about. So there are major philosophical differences. And Donald Trump ran pretty much as a populist, very different than a traditional Republican. You would think he could reach out to Democrats, but he ran such a scorched earth campaign, and he still came in saying he could get along with Obama and then accusing him of wiretapping. There is not going to be much of a taste among Democrats to work with them when he's set the ground rules in this way. And Donald Trump himself, he's a 70-year-old man, and he doesn't seem like he's inclined to change. And when things go wrong, rather than say the buck stops here, he is certainly one who's going to place the blame somewhere else. Look at health care. First it was the Democrats' fault, then it was the Freedom Caucus's fault. So some of this is asking him to be someone that he has so far proven he is not.